Hey friends, happy Friday. Summer has arrived. How is it at your home? I am Rebecca Connolly. Welcome on to Flavor Friday. If you are just jumping on, usually I go live at 11, but I'm going live a little early today instead of scheduling it for later, just because better done earlier than later, right? So, welcome on. It is Flavor Friday, and I can't wait to share with you what I have planned. So, diving in, if you are new to me, to my channel, I am Rebecca Connolly. I'm a personal chef and business mentor, cooking teacher, culinary nutritionist. I wear a few different hats, but I love to help women just like you become more confident in their own kitchens and also become confident enough to share those cooking and kitchen skills with others as a personal chef. So, today's topic, happy Flavor First Friday. Today, I want to talk about something that I see all the time, especially with experienced cooks. And honestly, I see it with personal chefs, cooking students, clients, and even myself, even after 20 plus years of cooking professionally. If you're just jumping on, say hello down below. Let me know where you are watching from, and what are you making? What are you making for dinner this weekend? It's summer, so I would love all the grilling ideas, all the smoking ideas, all of the cold salad ideas. All right, so the people who know the most often give themselves the least credit. Is that true for you? Let me know. Have you ever noticed that? The cook who can throw dinner together without a recipe, or the person who can open the refrigerator and somehow make a meal from whatever is in there, the one who can adjust seasoning, substitute ingredients, or even make something work when a recipe goes sideways. Here's what you'll often hear them saying: "Oh, that's nothing. Oh, I just cook. It's not a big deal." And I always want to say to them, no, it only feels easy because you've done it so many times. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today: the skills that become invisible. So, before we dive in deeper, what's something in the kitchen that feels easy to you now but used to feel difficult? Drop that down below. For me, honestly, it was knife skills. I know I talk about this a lot, and I'm not talking about those fancy, I've been to culinary school, I've done this out, kind of knife skills, right? I've worked in a Michelin star kitchen, whatever. I'm just talking about basic, safe knife skills, using a sharp knife that make your work in the kitchen much easier. Seriously, it does. The food processor is not always your best option. All right, so drop it down below. The question is, what's something in the kitchen that feels easy to you now, but used to feel difficult? And if you're looking for some basic knife skill info, and also with basic kitchen equipment, drop knife down below and I will send you my knife skills demo along with basic kitchen equipment information. Okay, so here we go. The invisible skill problem. That is today's topic. One of the reasons that skilled cooks underestimate themselves is because the expertise hides itself. Think about driving. Most of us don't think about, at least not after we're practiced, right? We don't think about checking our mirrors or using turn signals, watching traffic, adjusting speed. We just do it. The skills have become automatic, and cooking works the exact same way. You stop noticing things like meal planning, timing, seasoning, ingredient substitutions, budget management, using leftovers, reducing waste, understanding flavor combinations, and more. And why? Because you've practiced them probably for years. You've put in the hours, right? You've put in the time. This is one reason that I teach the flavor first framework, because flavor is often where expertise shows up. Well, at least externally, right? Everyone notices flavor. Not everyone notices what happens behind the scenes in the creation of the meal. A newer cook will follow a recipe, and recipes are great for that. When I was when I was a newlywed, when I was a first couple of years of being a personal chef, followed those recipes, right? But a skilled cook recognizes the patterns. They begin to know this meal needs a little more acid. This meal needs some fresh herbs. This needs a little bit more texture. this needs a little more salt. Not because someone told them, but because they've seen the pattern enough times. So that's actually the advantage of formal culinary education, right? Formal culinary school. And it's not always the 2-year programs that we've seen before. There are much quicker boot camp styles and basic skills courses that are available now, both in person and online. Um, but it's just putting that time in to be able to recognize the patterns and to know this is how it gets fixed, or this is how it needs to fit together, right? So that's where the confidence really comes from. It's not what most people think. A lot of us think confidence means that you know everything, that you never make a mistake, that you have all the answers, but that's not confidence. Confidence is in the pattern recognition. It's knowing I've seen something like this before, I can figure this out, and I know what usually works. That is very different. So, my early years as a personal chef, especially in the first couple, putting menus together and just being able to execute those with some degree of efficiency. I'm much better now, 20 plus years later, but that was time in, right? Learning from my mistakes, learning, learning how to multitask my cooktops in the kitchen, learning how to multitask the cooking times, learning how to integrate, use one ingredient across a couple of different meals. Although in a personal chef menu, you're looking for variety. So I don't necessarily want to put, say, zucchini in three of the dishes out of five if I'm doing five, right? But that's all in creating an efficient menu, right? So it's also budget conscious. But when I started to repeat recipes or certain kinds of recipes with similar flavor profiles, I started to notice, and again, this is the advantage of formal culinary education, but it's also something that you can do as a serious skilled home cook, right? With the more repetition, you start to recognize, oh, these flavors and ingredients go well together. Oh, when I'm cooking with this, I also want to use this. This will punch up this flavor. This texture needs, not a competing texture, but also needs, something soft and something crunchy. Okay. So little things like that. You don't realize how much you learn along the way until you look back. So now there's so much more that's just automatic, just like driving. How about you? Do you have skills that 15, 20 years later, you're like, "Oh, that's an actual that's an actual skill," right? It's something that we don't often think about. Cooking isn't really about the recipes. The recipes are always a starting point. It's how we learn, right? It's about all of the decisions that go along with the cooking. Every week, we're deciding what sounds good, what fits the schedule, what ingredients need to be used, what will people actually eat, what can be repeated. That's a lot of decision making, and we haven't even gotten into the kitchen yet. Skilled cooks get better and better and quicker, more automatic at making those decisions, which is one reason why cooking eventually feels easier, not because you're working harder, but because you've built those almost automatic patterns. This is why personal chef service can take off hours per week for a client when it comes to meal service. At least 8 to 10 hours between the menu planning, the shopping, and the actual execution of the dishes. So think about your favorite meals. Think about the meals that everyone asks for over and over again. I'm going to bet these meals aren't the most complicated, they aren't the most expensive, and they're also not the most impressive. They're often the meals where you've learned the flavor patterns. Not only have you learned the flavor patterns, but you've also learned how to adjust to your audience, to your guests, to those who are enjoying the meal. And again, maybe completely automatic or subconscious, but you've made those adjustments. You know exactly why it works and how it works, and you repeat it. Even if you can't fully explain it, even if you can't fully put it into words, that's lived experience turned into highly valuable kitchen and cooking skills. So I want to challenge you to notice this week. Pay attention to what feels easy, not because it's easy for everyone, but because it's easy for you because you've practiced it. Sometimes the things we're best at become so normal that we stop recognizing them as skills. And that's especially true in the kitchen and with cooking. All right. So here's the takeaway. If cooking feels easier than it did 5 years ago, even a year ago, even a month, if you've been practicing, that's not luck. If you can consistently feed people well, that's not luck. And I don't mean restaurant worthy, I mean feeding them well so that they feel nourished and satisfied. That's not luck. If you can look at ingredients and know what goes together, what goes with what, that's not luck. Those are learned skills, skills that you've developed over time, and skills that, again, are highly valuable. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to keep exploring this idea because one of the questions I hear most often from skilled cooks is, could these skills actually become something more? Not a restaurant, not a commercial kitchen, not a huge operation, just a simple, structured way to use the skills that they already have. So that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching in my upcoming free workshop, which you are all invited to. From Kitchen to Income: How Skilled Cooks Build Personal Chef Businesses. In this training, I'm going to show you why personal chef work is different than traditional food businesses, how skilled cooks already have many of the abilities they need, what that path from home cook to paid personal chef actually looks like as I've lived it, all of my ups and downs along the way, and the simple structure behind building a sustainable, profitable, flexible personal chef business. If you'd like the details when registration opens later today, comment webinar and I'll send those right over to you. Thank you so much for joining me for Flavor First Friday. Before you go, I want you to drop down below what's one kitchen skill you've developed that you rarely think about anymore. Let me know. I'd love to chat. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Remember, flavor is how we savor both at the table and in life. So keep it simple. Until next time.